Eden of the East. Alright, this has been a long time coming. Defined as if Ghost in the Shell had a love child with a Tom Clancy novel, this combination does not sound as boring as you would think. In fact, many conspiracies, theories, and mind-boggling plot twists arise from Eden of the East, without seeming at all confusing. Sure, it requires some thinking, but in the end, while leaving some things out, it still satisfies you. Well, at least until the movie comes out. The story of Eden of the East follows one Akira Takezawa, or he thinks is his name. He finds himself naked in the middle of Washington, D.C., holding a gun and a strange-looking phone, which has a digitalized account of 8.2 billion yen! Eventually, he meets a touristing Japanese college student named Saki Morimi. Takezawa goes back to Japan with Saki, and from there, he learns of the Selekeo, the dangerous game he's been playing, and a mysterious man named Mr. Outside. The plot develops very quickly throughout the 11 episodes, each ending in a dramatic fashion. The show has serious star power driving it behind the scenes, including Kenji Kamiyama, who helped create Blood the Last Vampire and Ghost in the Shell, as well as being produced by Production IG. Having not one, but 2 movies in the works also show that the original animation is the main driving force for the top-rated producer. The art style is also very nice, as the opening and endings of the show off its style and, well, style. This probably seems like a no-brainer, but Eden of the East is a must-watch in my book, and since the first movie is coming out soon, what good of a time as any to watch this series. Summer. Bakemonogatari. Within the span of one episode, the surname Senjo Gahara was forever engraved into the otaku mind. There's something about Bakemonogatari, whose title is a clever play on the Japanese words for monster and stories, that strikes it as the hit of the year, which is pretty big considering the end of the Haruhi hiatus was shown alongside it. The story follows Araragi-kun Koyomi, a high schooler boy who, previously being a vampire, contained powers like super strength and healing, catches a girl who is, put by Koyomi, light as a feather. The girl in question is the one and only Hitagi Senjo Gahara, and she visits Araragi's sort of mentor/problem solver Mimi Oshino. It's explained that she was possessed by a crab spirit relating to a famous Japanese monster tale, and soon after she's relieved of it. The rest of the show follows this structure, but with a different heroine, theme, monster, and some minor plot details in between. A bite of that also sounds cliche. You can see the style of it is much more different given the context. It's fast-paced, flashy, colorful, and overall pleasing. It's a gorgeous anime, but on the flip side, the animation is almost non-existent as it switches from still frame shots to ridiculous shortcuts taken in some of the later episodes. That said, Bakemonogatari becomes rather repetitive, as little to no exposition is given to the main plot to make each individual arc worthwhile. Why listen to Oshino tell a girl that she needs to fix past mistakes when we've listened to him say it previously to another girl? It's very reminiscent of Mushishi and Hellgirl in terms of repetitiveness. Of course, its quality is entirely up to you, so either way, I strongly recommend you check it out, just to see what all the hype is about. Tokyo Magnitude 8.0. With all the moe, violence, and fucking Haruhi this year had, a disaster series striving to be as realistic as possible was, in the best word, refreshing. While it necessarily wasn't the utmost realistic the show could be without adding cheesy melodrama, Tokyo 8.0 ended up being one of the shining gems hidden underneath some rubble. The show begins with middle schooler Mirai, who, in simple man's terms, is a giant dick. But of course, going through the age of puberty, Mirai hates and blames her average parents and younger brother, Yuki, for her miserable life. After Mirai is talked into taking Yuki to a robot convention deep in Tokyo by her mother, all of that is thrown out of the way as an earthquake, a number-crunching 8.0 on the Richter scale, strikes the heart of Tokyo, causing destruction and chaos abroad. Eventually, the 2 kids meet a biker chick/kind-hearted lady Mari, who decides to take them home, but also has her own agenda as well. Other than the obvious coming-of-age story from Mirai, Tokyo Magnitude takes dramatic twists later on, some that are really clever and some that are dragged on a bit too long. It seemed hard to figure out how the creators would stretch a story out over its 11-episode run, but somehow, give or take a few lame duck episodes, the majority of the episodes were really good and left you wanting more. More times than not, it's easy to get choked up in some of its finer moments. I would suggest you try it out. only because if the end of the first episode doesn't bring some emotion to you, then you most likely won't enjoy Tokyo Magnitude 8.0 appealing quality as a series. End Quarter 2009. Armed Librarians, Book of Bantora. Based off a popular series of Japanese light novels, Armed Librarians, Book of Bantora is a surprising addition to the action anime of 2009. Differing from the shonen genre, Book of Bantora is rather a more mature and subtle series, and presents its setting and characters in high marks. The plot focuses on a world where the souls of the dead are stored in books, concrete slates that, once touched, reveals to the person reading it the past life of the deceased person. These books are stored in the Bantora Library, which has a large index of the dead. Guarding these books are armed librarians, warriors who could utilize psychic powers along with superb fighting skills. The series mainly focuses on the librarians, or one in particular, Hamutsu Mesete, whose reckless nature make many question about her past life. Opposing the librarians are villains who wish to have the greatest and most interesting books of all time. The sophisticated old western style setting, while done before in anime, is still quite intriguing and is greatly shown in detail by the presentation of the series. Art is a key theme in the setting, so it's nice to see the animation itself meet these expectations. Of course, I can only see a few groups of viewers falling for the story, the setting, and the drawn-out dialogue rather than the action that's been sprinkled in between, so you should also just try it out as well. Perhaps the setting and the endless possibilities of the plot will have you thinking of this as the most mature anime this year. Trapeze. Psychological themes and screwing with your head aren't new to anime. While various shows under the genre usually require you to think about more than the plot, and are typically ambiguous, there's one exception to that rule, and that exception is Trapeze. Featuring all the mindfuck of a show in the genre, but having none of the infinite scope, Trapeze, or Kuchi Bronco as it's known in Japan, is literally one of the trippiest and most vibrant shows you'll ever see. Being set in what seems like a more colorful, hyper world than ours, each episode follows a different character who is suffering from a different psychological disorder. One time it could be the phobia of sharp edges, another OCD, or it can even be an old-fashioned case of permanent erection. Either way, all characters visit the same psychiatrist, Ichiro Irabu. Irabu himself, though, is not at all as sane as his patients. Kokoro no Yamai! While seeming repetitive, the variety of the patients each episode is very good, and by the third or fourth episode, you'll be hooked. The most notable thing about Trapeze, as you could probably see, is its animation style. This is where the show will play with your mind. Animated characters suddenly become real-world representations, certain designs are changed completely, and while they seem odd and quirky just for the sake of it being odd and quirky, some could argue that it actually has meaning behind it, like the multiple personalities of Irabu, represented by different character designs. Small things like that help the show set itself apart, along with rather informative facts presented by a real-world psychiatrist throughout the anime, and a really mind-blowing segment with Irabu's assistant, Mayumi. All in all, Trapeze is one of those try-it-out animes, just because the show won't be for everybody. Still though, if you're looking for a quality, original anime, well, you can't really get more out of it than this. The common perception of what a weeaboo would want for his anime wife, or waifu so to say, would most likely be busty, tsundere, badass, and underage. This perception has been the standards of waifu for a while now. But this fall, all of that changed. Now, instead of the hot killer alien chick, we got Sawako. Kimi no Todoke seems like a run-of-the-mill romance show, and in all aspects, it is. Nothing really new in terms of conventions are really brought to the table, but the reason why it's such a well-loved show is because of the personality of Sawako Nato. The story follows Sawako, a girl in high school who relentlessly is picked on due to her striking similar appearance to Sadako, the girl from the movie The Ring. This leads her to be outcast from everyone, until one day, popular boy Kazuhaya talks to her. Sawako looks up to Kazuhaya's ease of having many friends and being nice to everyone, and aspires to be like him one day. Slowly but surely, Sawako comes out of her shell and slowly starts to make friends and live a normal high school life. Sure, it sounds sad and, put simply, depressing that Sawako would be treated that way, but that's where the beauty of Sawako's personality comes from. She's always keeping a positive attitude and embracing the small stuff, like successfully saying hello to a stranger and then congratulating herself afterwards in her usual chibi-drawn way. You can't help it, but when Sawako feels happy, you feel happy. The fault of Sawako, though, is that she's usually oblivious to common social things like asking to become a friend or apologizing for not meeting expectations. She's genuinely unaware of how to do anything, so when Kazuhaya and others start to befriend her, you can really see her change and grow each episode. I have to say that, if you're a fan of drama or comedy anime, this is a must-watch by all means. It's really well done, and you always feel happy after each episode. Sawako can totally be my waifu.